And we're back. This is it. Final corrupting the world. This is the final after action report. I'm Ranak from Lizard Gaming, and yeah, finally over. I gotta tell you, this did not go well at all. And as you watch the battles, maybe I'm giving myself too much credit, but I didn't lose this war due to bad tactics. I lost this war to random number generators. The enemy rogue has an ability called Age of Deception. Minus 400 morale to all enemy units, and all their units are invisible. So that takes out a big piece of tactics, is, you know, you can't see your enemy. How are you going to move your troops to counter your enemy? But I mean, minus 400 morale, I mean, fair enough. I have Armageddon going, 80% spirit weakness, and they can't regenerate at all. So I could win a war of attrition if it came down to it, but that's not what it came down to. See, he also has these units, the purple spirit you see at the center, top center of your screen there, right next to the enchanted knight. It has a 35% chance to freeze a goblin exalted. That's the, I think it has a resistance of something like 11. Maybe it's confirmation bias, but as you will see when we get later into the video, it did not feel like it had a 35% chance of freezing it exalted. It seemed like every time they would go and begin an engagement, you know, get that one attack in, it would freeze the Goblin Exalted. That takes out a unit. It cannot fight back for an entire turn. That's my main damage outsource right there. That right there, since I can't do anything about it because 2 or 3 of my units are frozen per turn because he fields 3 or 4 spirits at once, the next turn they get their 3 attacks in and he's frozen again, and then he dies and I'm sad. There's no tactics involved in losing to that. And it felt like it was very consistent. Second off, I could not disjunct his Age of Deception. I tried twice with greater disjunct, full everything, you know, get this out of here as quick as possible. 55% chance of succeeding each time. Neither of them succeeded. And because I was putting all my casting points into disjuncting this thing that was making it so hard to counter his movements, or so hard to even do anything, because I'd walk into a trap every few seconds, or he would attack with an 8 stack out of the boonies. That's not something you can really keep up. I mean, Armageddon's a pain in the ass and not regenerating an 80% spirit weakness, but most of my spirit damage came from Holy War. And I didn't have any points to put into Holy War. And another thing, you will see through this, there's an event where your casting points don't regenerate. So that put a disjunct on hold for all 3 turns. It couldn't regen cast points. So even if I didn't disjunct, I had no spells. The way I played the Theocrat was heavily reliant on spells, and I didn't get to cast any. I couldn't cast anything. And then there was a whole lot of RNG involved, and I know this is coming out pretty whiny, but I did not feel like I deserved to lose. I feel like the game decided I would lose. So that's where I'm at with how Corrupting the World ended. But it looked like it started going good. This army here did fairly well. It's actually going to be a prime example of me just either having bad tactics or getting screwed by RNG, or mixture of both. Oh, by the way, found out, if your leader has something like 15 or 16 abilities that are all attacks that you can use in combat, they're not all going to be listed on the top row, because you only get about 12 of them. So, where do you reach your other abilities? Well, if you noticed, when I was having Ratigan attack with his musket or his spirit ray, I would actually click on the more information drop-down menu, then click that ability itself. So, if you ever run into a situation where you just have too many abilities and can't do anything with them, there's your solution to still use them. You just click on the more information and select the ability itself. And ending the first turn of the war, able to pick out an outpost, which this is where I'm starting to get privy to something's going on, and I get even more privy to it when I don't get any warnings about, hostile units in the territory, and yet my cities begin to fall consistently. So, what's next for Lizard Gaming now that Corrupting the World's done? Well, multiple things. On Wednesday, I hope to release my first War Thunder video. Depending on how well that goes, it might become a regular on the channel. I'll be planning on releasing a Terraria video on Friday, if all goes according to plan. We'll see how that goes. And on Monday, by then, I should have another set of videos ready for Age of Wonders 3. So Age of Wonders 3, it's going to remain on the channel, and I'll be going to the subreddit on reddit.com and posting a topic titled Lizard Gaming Suggestions, and in there is where people will be like, if you need something specific, like, hey, how do I use this unit in this situation? Well, Age of Wonders has a map editor. I can set up that situation for you, and I can show you what I would do in that situation. Whether or not it helps or hinders, that's, well, if you find a way that, if I show a way that works, then it works. If I find a way that doesn't work and I say, hey, I can't figure it out either, well, at least you know what not to try. If you want a campaign done, you can make that a drawn-out video. If we want to do something, another random gen map, or perhaps something different with the random gen, we can do that too. There's so many things you can do in Age of Wonders. There's so many small little nitpicky things that I can go into detail if you need to. I'm basically up for whatever you guys want, and if I don't get any suggestions for Age of Wonders, I'll probably just do another random gen map. Probably significantly smaller. This kind of dragged on. I condensed this down to about, what is it, half an hour-ish? It took me a good 6 hours from the start of the war to finally die, and most of it was just uninteresting, getting slaughtered, waiting for the AI to finish me, because towards the end I didn't have an economy and I didn't have any mana to afford to disjunct with any amount of certainty, and he just kept on reinforcing the spell, so to the point where even greater disjunct, which would have cost me 1,000 mana, had a 16% chance of succeeding. So I knew when I lost, and I knew when I was going to lose, and that's about where I started cutting the video. So you're not going to be seeing the whole war, you're going to be seeing the parts of the war where I thought I had a chance. So, another thing I noticed, this guy was prepared for war. He had not only armies built up for defending his cities, he had armies built up for attacking other people's cities, and I just didn't have the economy or the mana in order to do that. So I went in. It was not a good time. The second I started losing units and armies, I began to really felt it, and I couldn't really build them fast enough because most of my really powerful units, the giants and the dragons were still building their lairs, and the giants, well, it took 4 turns to build one each, so I was just too slow and not ready for this. So in addition to the Age of Despair, I couldn't get my crits in addition to the lack of casting points, I just couldn't get anything in. They conquered the Dragon's Lair, and I went in to reconquer it. It was a 7 versus 7. This was a nice fight. I had fun. With this fight. If you'll notice, there's not a whole lot of those cheesy freezing spirits. There's I think 1 in that entire army. Yeah, there's 1, so didn't really have much worry there. And that poor Exalted, he got 3 curses thrown on him at once. I am surprised he resisted all of them. Good on him. And so just figuring out my options here, I really couldn't afford to not have that dragon lair because in the long run I had needed the dragons, but at the end of the day it didn't really matter. I never was able to maintain the money to either field dragons or build the dragon's lair, so that never got completed. So, well, that was pretty wasteful. Shrines of Smiting were really good though. The 80% spirit resistance, it did work. It did a lot of work. I'm thinking if I do a similar playthrough in the future, I'll see what I can do and hopefully not get shafted in this particular manner. I noticed how their armies are spread out kind of heavily to the upper right of the screen. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to force them back down to the left because the lava flows there create nice choke points. I mean, most of our units are flying, so it doesn't really matter. But at the same time, it puts them in a position where there's almost no cover. They can't hide behind the tusks to get a line of sight penalty. They can't do anything spooky, and it makes it harder to flank as well, being in a skinny area like that. They have to expend more movement points to get where they need to go in order to flank, and the succubus there, you can see how few damage they're doing to the Exalted. They are almost a non-threat to a blocking Exalted, and I think they get a flanking strike in him, and at one point, and they only take 6 damage total. So they are also really good at inflicting chilling. So Exalted, good against succubi, not so good against that freezing spirit thing. And use the Blight Doctors to finish up the Griffins. And there's the Frozen. Shadow Stalkers is what they're called. And there's another Frozen. Thankfully, that's a ranged attack, and you can't freeze a ranged attack. Basically trying to figure out where to move the Goblin Exalted. He doesn't do a whole lot of damage when he's attacking in without a flank, so I'm basically setting up to protect the Frozen, and right here I make a bit of a blunder. I should have moved those Blight Doctors to go and heal the Frozen Exalted for the 20 health, if only to force an extra unit or an extra attack or something, you know, just give them a chance of surviving. But there's no undo button in combat. And yeah, there's the flanking hits, and he's still only taking 4 each, but I mean, when you're at 8, 4 is enough to kill you. And they're getting in their flanking attacks on the Big Beetle. I think they actually do kill it when he's frozen. But don't need to worry about any other of my units being frozen because it's dead. So this battle did end up in a victory, but again, in the long run, didn't really matter. Each of these battles that I fought out too were surprisingly long and drawn out. And Age of Despair, saving the life of a succubus, if only for a brief time. Click that flying unit, thinking it was one of my Exalted. Nope, it's a succubus. And we're gonna shift the Big Beetle in order to get a flanking for some of my other units. Disengage the Blight Doctors so they get in their extra Poison Bolt attacks. And use the Big Beetle to finish them off. So, what's happening in the near future? Well, I'm starting college at the University of Northern Colorado, and moving up there in the 20th of August, so that'll be fun. I'm not sure if I'll be able to maintain content during that time because it looks like it's going to be an especially busy hour. Hopefully it shouldn't be too much of a delay. Because this is fun. It is a performing and visual arts school, so they do have recording studios, so I won't need to worry about getting outside noise or anything in there. So that'll make things a lot easier for me, but here in the United States, college is ridiculously expensive. It's insane, so I'll be staring down that and probably have that at the back of my mind for the next couple of years. But hey, if this YouTube thing works out, hopefully it'll help ease that burden. And just mopping up the last couple of succubi using some ranged attacks, getting in some cheap damage. And we've recaptured the Dragon's Keep. And this was the last battle that was anywhere near competitive. And I'll admit, there was bad tactics all over the place. I was attacking into a wall, I didn't have any siege units, I only had giants, they had trebuchets just hurling boulders. If I was going to do this fight, I should not have fought it myself because I have no idea what I'm doing. I have 2 flying units, 1 that can climb, and the other 3 must beat down the walls when they have Low Rock Citadel. So, yeah. What I probably should have done, and hindsight is 2020, is just wait at the far back. But the problem is that gives the attackers an auto lose. So that idea probably wouldn't have worked either. Moving the units up to begin the siege. Gonna chuck a boulder at that trebuchet. Doesn't do much. By the way, good defense force, all classes. Apparently, trebuchets supported by a few infantry or cavalry. Apparently, pretty good. They have an insane range. They have high damage. You can move them, kind of. Not much if you want them to also attack, but 13 damage to a hero who is level 17. That's a lot. And you see the succubi only doing 1 and 2 damage or so to the giant there. And that poor Drake is just going to eat a boulder in the face. Thank you, sir. May I have another? And he's almost dead. So, this may have been closely matched on paper. In actuality, the bell tower, irrelevant. It dealt 1 or 2 damage to each of my units. Okay. Flowrock Citadel, that is a ridiculously powerful building. If you can build it all the time, build it always. It's what you want, no matter what you are playing, no matter what you have as a defender. If your walls are regenerating 20 health per turn, there's not gonna be much they can do to stop you. So, yeah. Build it always and forever, top priority. Set a trebuchet on fire, that'll make things easier in the long run. And thinking about throwing a boulder at it, and I decided to go ahead and do it. I'm gonna send the giants in to beat at the stone gate a little bit. Unless it does at least 20 damage, it is literally not going to matter. And 23, effectively, 3 damage. That's how much damage I dealt to that wall. 3. And, yeah, there's the healing. And there's that stalker. .100 health. Can inflict freezing. It's a tier 4 rogue unit. And, it deserves it. Finish off Radigan with the trebuchets. Get Warrior's Honor on all my other units. It's irrelevant completely and utterly. Deal a little bit of damage to my giant. Hurl a boulder. Add another giant. Oh no, that one was the second Drake that I have. And the Knights offer themselves up as tribute, but not until they do 30 damage to my Knight. So. I would have attacked the Knight, but at the same time, Dragon Slayer is not the kind of thing you want to attack into with a dragon. And this is... I probably should have started running away long before this, but... Hurl boulders, finish off the human knights, close down the gate again. I didn't get to hit the gate at this time, which means it's now back up to full health. Complete and utter full health. So, how much damage did I do to the wall by the time all my units started dying? None. At all. And that was poor tactics. This entire battle was nothing but poor tactics, but... There were some battles that should have been in total blowout, you know, 2 or 3 Stalkers versus 4 Exalted, a Shrine of Smiting, and a Crusader. You know, that should have been a blowout. That should have just utterly destroyed them. No, I lost, and it wasn't because of poor tactics, it's because I just couldn't fight back. So, moving on, bad tactics continue as I kill the... now in line for death knights, which for some reason have a lot of, well, okay, I know exactly why they have a lot of defense. They're knights. It's their job to soak up hits, but criminy. So this was the closest fight I had for the next 4.5 hours of game time. So yeah, I haven't deleted the character Radigan yet, but I have most certainly deleted the save. So, never doing a do-over of that one. Who knows? Maybe I'll try again on a smaller map. So that way I'm not investing multiple days of my life into that game. And there's the one hot shot Frozen. And he's not long for this world. And it is at this point where it finally occurs to me that maybe, just maybe, I should run away. I know, crazy idea. Probably should have done it when I was down to just giants, but oh wait, I have to get the one lick in for the 9 damage against the Shadow Stalker. And Fire Giant's dead. And it's time to run away with my Earth Giants. Of course, he doesn't survive. Trebuchets have a very, very long range, the likes of which this guy cannot compete. And I think he actually gets frozen, too. This guy has so many debuffs on him. I think his morale is something like negative 800. And Banefire to the back. And teleport. And Frozen. Yep. Just another flip off from the game. And then it tells me that it's my turn to move, and it's like, really? What am I gonna move? Anyway, so, corrupting the world, we got halfway there. It was a failure. It was, and I would like to say, it was a fiery blaze of glory. If I died during, I think it was like episode 4 or 5 when I was at the brink of destruction, if I died then, I would be able to say, yep, it was a blaze of glory. Yeah, this was not that. That was the closest I got for the rest of the game. So, I'm Ranak from Lizard Gaming. Was Age of Wonders 3. Stop by the subreddit over the next week to get your suggestion heard, and I'll see you all on Wednesday with a video from War Thunder.